Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecmain. Vakti şerifler hayrola, hayırlar fethola, şerler defola. Gönüller niyaz ile dola, dualar kabul ola. Let the goodness be conquered, let the evils be dispelled. Let the hearts be filled with the love of God. Let the prayers be accepted. Today, I would like to begin by emphasizing that Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, first and foremost, has aimed to guide humanity in accordance with the teachings of his belief, which is Islam, and also what he has learned from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So overall, the foundations of Mevlana's spiritual teachings are four. One is the Quran, the other is the prophetic wisdom, hadith and sunnah. The third one is the intellectual and spiritual legacy of Islam, which he had inherited from the past masters. And the fourth is the Eastern and Western culture, meaning traditions, whether it be Greek philosophy or whether it be Hindu philosophy, Eastern and Western traditions. He has benefited from them and filtered them and used wherever and whatever necessary for his worldview. I will share with you today two stories from the Mathnawi. But before coming to the story, I would like to again state very clearly and vigorously that the spiritual mission of Mevlana is to make himself an instrument of guidance, leading people toward the true path and eternal happiness in accordance with the purpose of creation. So in full awareness of his spiritual mission, he once said, we are like the two legs of a compass. One leg stands firmly in the law, i.e. the Quran and the Sunnah, meaning Islamic principles, and the other leg moves freely, embracing 72 nations. So Mevlana had seen himself as an educator, as a moral teacher, as a guide, which he believes that he is following the footsteps of many Sufis before him, such as Junaid Baghdadi or Abu Yazid Bistami and the other Sufi masters. So we have to perceive him not as a humanist, as unfortunately misinterpreted and misconceived by some groups in the West, nor was he a mystic apart from the roots of Islam. He was a Sufi par excellence, but at the same time he was a scholar of Islam. So without understanding really his background, which is again the religious traditions of Islam, we cannot understand his ideas and his teachings in the Mathnawi, also in other books. Now, sometimes there is a kind of misunderstanding among people that Mevlana and other Sufis are passive. They are not active in society. In other words, as if they had secluded or retreated from the society, and they had no whatsoever participation or active involvement in the affairs of humanity at large. This is a gross error. When we look at his life, of course, until he had met with Shams Tabrizi, he was, as a sober scholar, giving without failing his regular lectures, and he had a lot of disciples. But of course, after having this encounter with Shams, he continued to be a scholar, but moved to more spiritual direction. And when we look at Mathnawi, let me now share with you these two stories. In the Mathnawi, first volume, Daftar 1, beginning with the couplet 3010 and the following, there is a very interesting story, and the three animals, a lion, a wolf, and a fox, they decided to hunt together in the jungle, in the forest. Let me first read, then I will explain. Mevlana says, a lion, a wolf, and a fox had gone to hunt in the mountains in quest. So by supporting each other, they might tie fast the bones and fetters on the hunted animals. All these three animals together might capture much and great quarry in the deep wilderness, meaning jungle. Although the fierce lion was ashamed of them because he was the king of the jungle, yet he did them honor and gave them his company on the way. One might think, why was lion, going for hunting with them? Because he doesn't need their company. So Mevlana says, to a king like this, the soldiers are an annoyance, because he's a king, he's a sultan. But he accompanied them, a united party is a mercy. Now Mevlana uses this expression, Jama'at Rahmat. You see, whenever he finds opportunity, even in this story, he refers to Quran, he refers to Hadith, and gives his message. If you want to do something, you go in the company of a group of people to achieve your goal, to be successful. And collective motion or collective action will take you fast to the result, to your destination, to your aim, in other words. So, of course, in Islam, Jama'ah is important, congregation is important, as we know. So he's giving his message right away. But this is not exactly what he meant here. So a moon like this is disgraced by the stars. It's amongst the stars for generosity's sake. You see, a moon is the brightest planet, okay, as compared to stars. And of course, moon is compared to the line here. The comment, consult them, came to the Prophet, though no counsel is to be compared with his own. Look at again another message Mevlana is giving here. If you refer to the Quran, Shawirhum. You know, this is a Quranic expression. If you like to, decide a matter, you better consult with your companions. And therefore, in Islam, shura or mashwara is essential. And Mawlana says here, even these three animals got together, although one of them is very powerful, one of them is middle size, and the other one is small, but in order to achieve their goal, they had a consultation with each other, with one another, and they decided to do a journey, to undertake this hunting journey. And so, in our social life, if you would like to really achieve your goal, you have to act together with your group, not alone, not individual, and also you pursue diligently and responsibly the process of consultation, shura. And Mawlana continues. He says, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he is guided by Allah directly. He's been receiving revelation. So why should be a need for him to consult with the companion? Because he is the guide himself. But in order to teach us and his people and his Quran and instructed him, pursue consultation. You should do consultation. So likewise, Mawlana uses this and gives and draws our attention to this important principle of Islamic ethics. In the scales, barley has become the companion of gold, not because barley has become a substance like gold. The spirit has now become the body's fellow traveler. The dog has become for a time the guardian of the place gate. So this story goes about a couple of pages, but to make the story short, in the end, they hunted, they captured, they found a mountain ox, a goat, a fat hare. So in the end of their hunting, they were able to capture 3 preys, so to speak. One is ox, one is goat, one is fat hare, like a rabbit. So their business went forward. It was successful. Whoever is on the heels of him that is a lion in combat, roast meat does not fail him by day or night. So when they brought them from the mountains to the jungle, killed and wounded and dragging along in blood, the wolf and the fox hoped that a division would he made according to the justice of emperors. Now, of course, they captured 3 preys, but how to divide them? How to distribute them? And who should perform or execute this division in the first place? So the reflection of the hope of both of them struck the lion, meaning, of course, lion is the king. So now fox and wolf were thinking, how lion will divide these 3 captured animals. Anyone that is the lion and prince of mysteries, he will know all that is conscious things. And Mawlana says, beware, guard yourself, O heart disposed to thinking, from any evil thought in his presence. So when the lion perceived their bad ideas, he did not declare and paid regard at that time. But he said to himself, I will show you what you deserve, O bigotry villains. Was my judgment not enough for you? Is this your opinion of my bounty? Then, now, I'm skipping most of the couplets. The lion said to wolf, O wolf, can you divide this? And you are old wolf, you may make justice. Can you divide these 3 captured animals justly? Perform a new justice. Be my deputy in the office of distributor. Lion is saying that it may be seen of what the substances you are. O king, said the wolf now. In response to the request of the lion, wolf is declaring, the wild ox is your share because he is big and you are big. The strong and you are strong and active. The goat is mine because wolf, I am the middle. And for the goat is middle and intermediate. Do you, O fox, receive the hare, meaning rabbit? It's for you, no mistake. The lion said, O wolf, how have you spoken in front of me like this? Say, when I am here, do you speak of I and you? Now it's very important now, Mevlana going little farther. You see, beyond the appearance now. Truly, what a cur the wolf must be, that he regarded himself in the presence of a lion like man who am peerless and unrivaled. He said, come forward, meaning lion is saying to wolf, come forward, oh you self-esteeming ass. Sorry for the expression. He approached him. The lion seized him with his claws and tore him apart and rent him. Inasmuch as he did not see in him the kernel of right conduct, he tore the skin of the head of the wolf as a punishment. Killed. He said, since the sight of me did not transport you out of yourself, a spirit like this must die miserably. Since you were not passing away in my presence, it was an act of grace to smite your neck. Now, referring from the Quran, kullu shay'in halikun. You know, everything is perishing, illa wajhahu. Everything is perishing except his face of God, meaning, unless you are in his face, do not seek to exist. When anyone has passed away in my face, everything is perishing are not applicable, because he is in except, he has transcended not. Whosoever is in except has not passed away. Whosoever is uttering I and we at the door, he is turned back from the door and is continuing not. Now, of course, here Mevlana goes to deeper from the external aspect of division as kind of internal understanding of the story, and the Tawheed, the real Tawheed, in the presence of one supreme God. You are nothing. How do you declare that I exist? After all, your existence depends on his existence. It is he who made you exist. So this is, of course, theological, but there are a number of lessons that we can derive from the story. But let me first finish the story, because there is more. And now Mevlana inserted here in between Sifatu Tawheed, meaning the understanding of Tawheed. I am skipping that because still we have more to read from the story. Now that proud one tore off the head of the wolf. The lion, tore off the head of the wolf, in order that two-headedness and distinction might not remain. And again, he's referring again, it is so we took vengeance on them, referring from the Quran, O old wolf, inasmuch as you were not dead in the presence of the emir. After that, the lion turned to the fox. Now he will ask the same question to fox, and said, fox, come, divide this for breakfast, because we are getting hungry. Now wolf has gone and your turn. Now fox bowed low and said, this fat ox will be your food at the breakfast, O king, O excellent honorable king, and this goat will be a portion reserved for the victorious king for the noon meal. So this, in other words, ox for your breakfast, and goat for your lunch. The hare, however, meaning rabbit, hare, for your supper, for your dinner, meal at night of the gracious bountiful king. Look at how fox is clever, very clever. Then said the lion, "O fox, you have made justice shining. Now justice is shining forth. From whom did you learn to divide in such a manner? When did you learn this, O eminent one? O king of the world," he replied, "from the fate of the wolf." Of course, from the situation of the wolf. The lion said, "Inasmuch as you have become pledged to love of me, since you left it to me, willingly, humbly, you recognize me, pick up all the tree and take and depart, and you eat yourself." Just look at the generosity of the lion. "O fox, since you have become entirely mine, how should I hurt you when you have become I? I am yours, and all the beasts of chase are yours. Set your foot on the seventh heaven and mount. Since you have taken warning from the wild wolf, you have learned your lessons. You are not a fox, you are my own lion. So you become I become you." The wise man, now Mevlana gives us some messages here. The wise man is the one who is in the shunned tribulation, takes warning from the death of his friends. See now the lesson. If someone passes away, don't forget, death will also come to you. As if death will never come to us. So this is, first of all, as I said yesterday in my discourse on Mevlana, everything has two sides, form and mana. External side, internal side. In a sense, appearance and hidden aspect of the story. Everything. So a man, for example, in terms of constitution, a beautiful body, but what lies behind the body is real man. The thought, reflection, heart, intention, in other words, fikra. See, and this is important. So here, this is an external, like this is a message everyone can understand. So if someone dies just next to you, never forget, death sooner or later will fall on you too. Because kullu nafsin zaiqatul maut. Every soul eventually will taste the death. So this is a simple lesson. Everyone can get this lesson. So it says, look how the fox took the lesson from the wolf. And the fox said, 100 thanks to the lion for having called me up after that wolf. You know, he could have asked fox, make the division before asking wolf, but he asked wolf. So he says, I am also thankful, which means for Mevlana, you may ask something desperately, but God Almighty doesn't give you. Don't despair. Don't lose your patience. Wait, there will be a time that He will honor you. He will respond to your needs. But there must be a time. So don't go panic. That's important. So you should learn your turn, in other words. And also you should be thankful in every state you are in. If he had bidden me first, now saying, do you divide this? Who would have escaped from him with his life? I could have been also in the same situation. Fox is saying, thanks be to him then that he caused us to appear in the world after those of old. Everyone has a turn. So that we heard of the chastisements which God inflicted upon the past generations in the present time. So, and in other words, every moment of your life is precious. Don't complain, I am old. Every age has its own beauty. You should take benefit. You should take care of that before it's too late. That's important. You see, there are many stories, but for the time being, let me stick to the story because we have a couple of other admonitions or a message or lessons which we'll discuss together in the context of this story. So that we heard of the chastisement which God inflicted upon the past generations in the present time, that we, like the fox, may keep better watch of ourselves from the fate of those ancient wolves. On this account, he, that is God's prophet, and Varashis in explanation, called us a people on which God has taken mercy. So we are blessed by the mercy of Allah in every moment. Behold with clear vision the bones and fur of those wolves, and take warning, O mighty ones. The wise man will put off from his head this self-existence and wind, since he heard the end of the pharaohs and Ad. Now, here, the spiritual meaning of the story. Before giving spiritual meaning, what as a matter of fact, Mevlana is emphasizing here? Couple of important concepts. First, Jama'ah, to act together in group, is the golden principle of Islamic ethics. You are not alone in the society. You are born, of course, alone, but you are by nature, okay, bound to live together with other human beings. That's important. So social life. Second, that's another element. When you are together, you cannot act on your own. If there is a matter to be deliberated, to be decided, and you seek consultation from the right people. You seek their advice. You seek their opinion before acting. And in a sense, take your time and the exercise this process of consultation, shura and mashwara. But another important element is justice, adalah. Although Mevlana Jalaleddin Rumi does not specify here the significance of justice as we understand in social context. However, by implication, we can also understand that this story has a social dimension. You know, Wolf was right, as a matter of fact, in his division of the praise, because normally, if we understand just simply equality, equal treatment, okay, justice is if I am big, of course, naturally I deserve the big one. If you are small, naturally, understandably, because of equality, you deserve the smallest one. If there is someone middle, intermediate, he or she deserves the middle one. This is what we call equality, but not justice. Now, justice means, and I will quote more poems from Mevlana, what justice means, you know, to act with wisdom, hikmah, which means to put something in its own place, in its due place. This is hikmah. And justice means to give someone what he or she deserves. To give everything its due. To give everything its due. So you do justice not in accordance with the physical appearance, but in accordance with exactly what they require. what they deserve. For instance, let me compare a physician, a doctor, and a laborer. They work 8 hours. And laborer did not finish like all the educations. We respect his work. He's a laborer. He must have finished either a primary school or secondary school, and he got this work job, which is very simple: cleaning the places and restoring the, placing the chairs, etc. Labor, manual work. Since he works 8 hours and doctor works 8 hours, can we say, okay, they should be given the same amount of salary? No. Doctor, when we look at him, he has devoted his entire life to, what we call a series of hardships and turbulences, like difficulties. Every step he has gone through a training, and he had to pass the exams and in the test and the laboratories and the research, still ongoing. And besides, like an engineer, he needs all the techniques, he needs all the materials in order to, and perform his work. And also, he is more liable than the laborer. He's more responsible and more accountable than the laborer, physical worker. Because if something happens to the patient of the doctor, he will be questioned. Therefore, in Islam, and also as we learn from the Mathnawi of Rumi, justice is to give, everybody everything what they deserve, not give them equally. So therefore, this in economic sense, there is an equity and equality. That's very important. So that's what we learn from this story. But here, not necessarily this is only has a social dimension. Lion stands for ruh, spirit. Lion stands for spirit. And wolf is nafs. See, carnal soul. Fox is intellect. So God Almighty, Allah Almighty, invested in human being 3 faculties. Ruh, very important, akal and nafs, soul, and the intellect and the spirit. Spirit is pure. Spirit is pure. That is from God. Therefore, when the Quran, speaks, this is from the the realm of amr, command. Because all of us are given very limited knowledge about the nature of the spirit. Because spirit is divine. So once you have the spirit, which is in fact revelation, which is in other words angelic power within you, so you submit your intellect to it. And here nafs always pulls us down, spirit takes us above. So Mevlana says intellect therefore has to listen to what? To spirit, not to the soul. So if intellect listens to the spirit, meaning receives illumination, direction, instruction from the divine, he will be able to conduct a beautiful, balanced life without any problem. So intellect, in other words, kind here of intellect represents here kalb, in fact. When we look at the kalb, meaning, you know, oscillates. It's like a swings. The center of intellect is kalb. So you have to be very careful which direction your kalb is swinging. And the spiritual masters like Rumi, Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, indicates that so long as intellect, you know, performs its reasoning, its function, its power, by and under the guidance of the spirit, the nafs will be a servant. Nafs will be a servant for both. So human being in this sense become like almost an angel, like a malak. And here the spiritual meaning, the symbolic meaning of the story is this. Having said, and I guess time is almost coming to the end, I was going to say another important story, but let me give a few very powerful statements with regard to the meaning of justice from Mevlana. He says, what is injustice? Opposite of justice. In other words, like this is zulm, or like zulm, opposite of. What is zulm, injustice? He says, to put out of its proper place. Beware, do not let it be lost out of its place. And again, here it is. Then what is justice? Giving water to trees. What is injustice? To give waters to thorns. So if you give pen in the hands of ignorant, it is injustice. If you give position, rank in the hands of a person, undeserving person, it is injustice. So therefore, you need qualification. Likewise, and Mevlana says, if you give the weapons in the hands of the, like a thief, or in the hands of a bandit, then it is injustice. So justice is bestowing a bounty in its proper place, giving in a proper place, and not on every root that will absorb water. What is injustice? To bestow in an improper place that can only be a source of calamity. So exactly what we learn from the Mathnawi. To conclude, here it is from again Mevlana Jalaluddin. Know that all the created beings are like pure and limpid water, in which the attributes of Allah are shining. Their knowledge and their justice and their clemency are like a star of heaven in running water. Kings, those who really act as a Khalifa on the earth of Allah, are for the manifestation of God's kingship. The learned are the mirrors for God's wisdom. Generations have passed away, and this is a new generation. The moon is the same moon. Water is not the same water. So justice is always the same justice. Learning is the same learning too. But those generations and peoples have been changed. Generations and generations have gone. So the ideas are permanent and everlasting. Generations change, but the meaning of justice never change. Thank you very much.